Now it's time to start talking about our crew, the crew that you're going to assemble and is going to make your feature film with no money. Now, when you look at a film that's playing in the theater and the credits roll, there are hundreds of names that are involved with making that feature film. That is not what you're going to do. There are 5 key areas where you're going to need crew to be part of your film. The first is the DP, or director of photography, the cinematographer, who is operating the camera and is making sure that you're capturing something that looks good or looks great. So the DP, then you're going to need sound, somebody who's going to be capturing that sound and monitoring it to make sure it sounds good. Sound is very important. We're going to get into that later. After the DP and sound, you're going to need somebody who is going to be AC, gaffer, grip, all in one. Those are typically several different positions, but for your film, you're going to ask somebody who's going to be doing a little bit of all 3 of those roles. The next, you're going to want to have art, okay? Somebody who's going to be in charge of the props and generating some graphics or some prints and making sure everything looks aesthetically pleasing within the frame that the camera is capturing. So that's art. Then lastly, you're going to need a production assistant. Okay, somebody who's going to be that gopher that's going to be doing a little bit of everything and happy to do so, because there's going to be stuff that you're going to forget or an extra thing that you're going to need. And so they're going to be in a kind of flexible rotating role. So if you have a DP for the camera and sound, and you're going to have a assistant camera gaffer grip that's going to be helping with camera and helping with lights, then you're going to have art and production assistant. So those are the 5 areas. Now, if you can gather more people to do those roles and to have a little bit more specification into what they're doing, that's great. But those are the 5 areas to think about so that you can concentrate on, once you're rolling, you're going to be directing and letting those folks think about those other areas. And because you're doing this with no money, then you might even have to use a rotation of folks. You know, maybe not everybody is available for every day of your shoot. So you might have to mix and match those roles to a certain degree as well. That was the case with Smells Like Community Spirit. Again, we had a limited budget, and so we had to rotate some of those roles that we were using and keep the momentum going. And that's just something that you'll have to embrace. Now, when you're thinking about putting together this crew and doing it with no money, you have to consider the alternative forms of payment that you can offer. Now, if you have a little bit of budget and you want to put it into the crew, then you can do that. And I would suggest maybe considering putting it into sound above actually visuals, above the camera, at least for your equipment. But we'll talk about that more a little bit later, of how important sound is. But if you don't have money, there are other forms of payment that you can use. Let's look at that. There's opportunity, there's back-end points, gas, and food. So when I'm talking about opportunity as payment, one, it might be that these crew members, they've never worked on a feature film and they want that opportunity to work on a feature film. It's kind of on the bucket list for anybody who hasn't done that yet, but is involved in video production. So you're offering them the chance to participate in a feature film, and that's really exciting and really fun. And there might be folks who want to do it just because of that fact that they want to make a movie. But then there's also the opportunity for them to move up in a way that they typically don't get to. So maybe they are a grip and they want a gaffer credit, and you're going to give them the opportunity to be the gaffer for your film. Maybe it's somebody who is normally an AC or a cam op, so they're assisting camera, they're just operating the camera, but they want an opportunity to be a DP and to get that credit. So you're going to offer that to them. Maybe it's somebody in sound who's normally only a boom op, but they want an opportunity to be a sound mixer. So you're going to offer them the opportunity to move up, and that's a form of payment or a motive for them to participate in the film. Now, one of the other things that we want to think about as payment is back-end points, or a percent ownership in the movie. So you can consider that as an opportunity and a form of payment for them as well. So you can offer them a certain percentage of ownership in the film, so that whatever money is coming in from the film, they can receive a percentage of that after the film. you may also want to consider with that deferments. So that's you agree on a certain rate for them, but they don't get it until money starts to come in for the film, and they can get that little bit by little bit as money starts to come in. Another way to look at this is to consider everybody who's working on the film, agree to a rate with them, and then you put that into a spreadsheet and look at the number of hours worked and what their hourly rate is. And then you're going to apply percentages to anybody who participated or came to that agreement who participated. They're going to own a certain percentage or receive a certain percentage of the payment. They don't necessarily have to be an owner in the LLC, but you just agree that they're going to receive a certain percentage. And then as money starts to come in, every so often, you're going to evaluate where you are, what money has come in, and then apply everybody's payment based on their percentage. There's a really interesting platform for that called Pie Slicer, and I'm sure there are others out there, or you can just simply do a dedicated spreadsheet. But look into that, and that's a way that you can track that, and you can offer folks to share in the reward since they're sharing in the effort and the sacrifice to do that. So first form of payment is opportunity. The second is a back-end points, back-end payment, deferred payment, some form of that you can offer them once money is starting to be collected. The third form of payment is actually maybe with gas. You can at least offer to cover gas. That was the case with Smells Like Community Spirit. There were some folks who were key positions in the film, and they just asked, the location where we were shooting was pretty far from their home. And so they said, look, I'm happy to help you with your film. I don't require a day rate, but if you can provide gas for the travel back and forth, then I can help you with the film. So I just got some gas cards, used some of my budget on that, and I gave them gas cards to cover their gas expense. And that's a way to show respect and to offer that you're willing to at least cover some basic costs in recognition of the huge sacrifice that they're making to participate on your crew. And then the fourth form of payment is food. And this is very, very important. It might be kind of funny. I'm semi-joking, but it's really, really important that you consider food as a form of respect and a form of payment. If you're asking folks to do these long, hard days, to commit to participating with you, it's a fun, passionate endeavor, but it can also be hard and intense. You're going to want to show them respect by feeding them well, and not trying to give them peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every day for every meal, but take a piece of your budget and dedicate that into respecting people with the food that you provide that's gonna fuel them. And it serves as a morale boost. If you're doing those long, hard days, and when it's time to take a break or you're in between scenes and they can go over and grab a favorite snack, that's a boost. When it's time to have your meal break, and you're going to sit down and eat, and you're going to continue to build relationships while you're eating, then you want to make sure you're having a good meal. And there are a few different ways that you can do that without spending a ton of money. One of the ways that you can have great food for your folks without spending a lot of money is, again, to reach out to those friends, that network, those family members, and ask them if they would be willing to provide one meal for your crew. So if you're only shooting 5, 10, 15 days, that's all you need is somebody to commit to one of those meals each day. And so maybe you need to get 10 people to be willing to provide one meal. So maybe that's a meal with, again, if you're thinking about your 5 crew members and your position and a handful of cast, it's providing a meal for, let's say, 10 people one time, and you get 10 of those, and you have all of your food covered. And that's gonna be better than a fast food meal. You're gonna get everybody's best A-game meal for the meal that they're making. And this is something that we employed 3 different times with our feature films, is we reach out to network and said, if you can't participate on crew, or if you can't be a cast member, or if you can't donate money, or if you want to do, in addition to that, you want to support this effort, one of the ways that you can do that is providing a meal for our crew. And it was everybody's best meal. It turned out that way. We had really great food for our crew because everybody was making a meal out of passion, out of love, and then delivering it, and it was everybody's best meal. And it really came back in a positive way from the cast and crew. They were so appreciative of that. They were happy. It really contributed big to the morale, and was a really positive experience that then again, it didn't really cost us anything but the ask. Then we were able to take some of the funds for food and apply that to really great, healthy snacks that fueled our crew and made everybody keep going through the day. Having some snacks that people like some granola bars, but then also mixing in some yogurt, some fresh fruit, and some things like that are fairly healthy, but that folks enjoy. Is the way to go with the food when you're asking folks to provide that. And I will say the other way, besides asking friends to provide the meals, the other thing that you can do is look for opportunities for product placement. So there might be some local restaurants that want to offer to provide a meal or two for your cast and crew for recognition. Maybe it doesn't even have to be in the film. Maybe it's through your social media and your website, through those accounts that you recognize them, or maybe it's that you swap out for some product placement and recognition. That's what we did in Smells Like Community Spirit. There was a local pizzeria who the owners happened to love filmmaking. They were close to where we were shooting. Our cinematographer was familiar with them and knew that they often supported local efforts in various ways. So he asked them, would you be interested in providing a meal or two for our cast and crew? And in exchange, we'll recognize you in some way. So I was able to write in the script recognition for them by one of the characters mentioning their name. And they actually provided us with a couple of meals for our crew. And it was really great food. You don't want to have pizza every day, but this is really good high-end pizza that we were able to provide for our folks, along with some pasta and salad and things like that. So we were able to leverage that relationship and get that meal covered for free through product placement. So that's another avenue for you to take to feed your crew and to feed them well. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the specific crew and situation that I used for Smells Like Community Spirit. Again, the feature film that I made with $2,000. For the director of photography, for that cinematographer position, I had expressed this desire of making a feature film and trying to attempt it with no money. And I expressed that to a group of friends, and one of them, who was used to shooting and editing a lot of industrial video, who had a background in photography, he had expressed a lament that in his career, he had never had the opportunity to work on a feature film. He also owned and had access to a lot of pretty legit equipment. And so we decided to partner together on this effort. And he was excited to have somebody who could provide the content and provide a screenplay and gather the people together in that kind of producing position. And also I was writing the script and directing. And he could bring to the table his expertise in cinematography and his equipment. And so we decided that we were going to do that together. And any profit that was generated from the film, we could share, because we were bringing our two expertise and resources together. And so he was able to bring his equipment and his expertise. He was happy to do that. And because he was a freelancer in shooting and editing, he was able to manipulate his schedule so that he had time to devote to the days that we were shooting. And because I was following the page count rule and had made sure that the script wasn't beyond 93, 94 pages, then we knew that we could shoot the film in less than 10 days and it wouldn't have to be a huge undertaking for him. It's a big deal, but it's not asking him to take a whole month off. Then we could just look at, is there a 8 to 10 day span that we could shoot all of this that wouldn't be too taxing on him and on his freelance business. When I think about the other camera operators, we often were running a second camera with our scenes. Then we needed a second camera operator and or AC for the feature film. That was a position that we needed to have a rotation. So I contacted a colleague of mine who was a veteran shooter. At the time, he was in between jobs and wanted to keep busy and stay involved. And so he was willing to give a few days. Then I contacted a close personal friend who had a lot of experience running camera. And then the third person, we actually used 3 different people that we rotated for that second camera. The third person came from a local college program. He had a connection to a sister of mine. My sister, wasn't studying anything to do with media, but she had this friend from a campus club that she was a part of, and knew that he was excited about electronic media and had a little bit of experience. And so he ran second camera part of the time as well. So that's where that came from. For our sound, there was somebody who I knew, a young teenager who was very passionate about being involved in filmmaking. He had been to some film camps. He had worked on a movie as a PA, and I knew that I could trust him to boom op. So he actually ran the boom, and we ran a splitter off of the sound recorder. He had the sound recorder on his side. He had the boom, and then we ran a splitter off of it so that I could monitor sound to make sure that we were getting good sound at the same time, because he didn't have much experience doing sound. So that way I could know we were getting something good, and he could also contribute in that way. So again, it's an opportunity to move up for him from production assistant to being boom operator on the feature film. Then the next position that we look at is art. For art, I have a good friend who I'd worked with on a lot of different projects, who was a very talented graphic designer. So I was able to contact him, ask for a favor, and say, would you generate some posters and some artwork, some fake brands like we talked about before, for the movie, so that I could use them. So we created some kind of like mini billboards that were supposed to go in the bowling alley, soda pop brand, and some things like that could be part of the movie. He generated that artwork, and we were able to get that printed and contribute to the film. And another friend of ours who's also a very talented artist, he was able to do some additional graphics and do some decorating for the miniature golf scenes that helped us out a lot there. So again, kind of using a rotation for that position, where there are a couple different artists who were generating the graphic design. Only one did one day of set deck, and then the rest of the time we were using a local friend who was very passionate about movies and making movies, and part of a movie watching club that I created. And so she was in charge of doing some basic set deck around our sets with the art that was created from the graphic design artists. Then when I look at the production assistants, again, a rotation of folks. Some came from local universities. I reached out to their professors and to the department and said, we're doing this feature film. If your students want some additional experience, they can participate in this way. So a few of them came from that, and a few of them, again, came from that local club of folks who got together to watch movies. A few of them wanted to participate as well. So we use that as the rotation for the production assistants. So again, you're tapping into various networks that you have of like-minded people, providing them with opportunity to work on a feature film, opportunity to move up, leveraging back-end points or ownership, and some of them we offer gas cards to help with that expense. So those various forms of payment that brought that crew together, and we had a really great crew for 8 days of shooting for very little money. Outside of a little bit of food and gas, that was basically it.